If you're a real estate investor or a wholesaler struggling to get leads and you know that you want to do online marketing, but the problem is you don't want to hire an agency because the agency wants a lot of money per month. Or you may have hired an agency and they didn't work out at all. In fact, it was horrible. And now you don't know what to do. Well, I'm here to tell you that hiring an agency for your real estate wholesaling business is not only a bad idea, but it also sets you on the path of not even giving ads an opportunity, Facebook and TikTok and Google. And that is because the whole model is flawed. And I'm going to share with you exactly why it is by showing you an example from an actual ad account. And really, I think that the new model should be what's called a hybrid agency. And that's what I'm going to be discussing in this video. Excuse my scribble scrabble, as my handwriting is not the best. First of all, let's make sure that we're on the same page in terms of what we're doing here. And that is that we are wanting to generate online leads for your real estate wholesaling business. And the reasons why you want to generate online leads is because, number one, they're warm leads. People that have filled out a form and now requested them to be called by you. And it's different than a cold call lead. A cold call lead is somebody who's going to ask you, who are you? How'd you get my number? And then when you say, well, are you interested in selling the property? Maybe. Why don't you make me an offer? And it's just the most horrible conversation ever. I'm sure they're nice people, but not in this environment. A warm lead is when you call them and I say, hey, this is Cris with National Property Buyer. And hey, John, this is Cris with National Property Buyer. You filled out a form. You saw it on Facebook. And you raised your hand and said, I'm interested in selling my property. And I'm calling you back. Does that ring a bell? Yes, it does. Great. I'd love to get more information about your property, see if it might qualify for us to be able to buy it. You have a few minutes. And they say yes. And off to the races you go. Wasn't that sound much nicer than the cold call? Also, when you are cold calling, this is supposed to say versus. I guess I erased it by mistake. Welcome guest versus a pest. When you are doing cold calling, you are a big pest. They did not ask to speak with you. They did not ask for you to call them. And so you're just not in a good position. Also, when you're doing online marketing, it becomes a sifting and sorting game versus a convincing game, if you do it right. Meaning that we want an overabundance of leads coming in, such that then now we can pick and choose who we want to deal with. If somebody's an ass, not that most friendly seller, and they're completely unreasonable, then we can say the magic four-letter word, which is next. And then finally, it's easier to scale because if you want to change your budget, this is groundbreaking here. All you got to do is go and log in and change the number. So if you want to spend $20 a day and then you want to spend $30 or $40 a day, you can just change the number. And now guess what? You get more leads versus getting a list and skip tracing more numbers and hiring more cold callers, or maybe you making cold calls, which is really agonizing. We're not going to get into that. So those are the reasons why online leads. So let's talk about the flawed agency model. And I want to talk about this by actually sharing you an example. Here's an example from one of our clients. So he came to us when an agency had horrible results for him. These are the leads that they were generating from the agency. You can notice here, these are the number of leads that the agency generated, and this is the cost per lead. As you can see here, the average cost per lead is $61. I did not include this last one for $182. They paid $182 for a lead. That should be a crime, but I didn't put that into my equation. I should, but I'm too lazy to rework the numbers, and in the end, it would be worse than this. So the average across all this is about $61 cost per lead. So they were paying $61 a lead. Now, when we took over, and what we did is we set up the ad campaigns and showed them how to run them. So they didn't hire us as an agency. They hired us as to go in like a Navy SEALs, let's set these things up, and that way they can take over. And this is the number of leads, and look at the cost per lead here. The average cost per lead for us was $27. That is a significant difference from the 61. Now, what is that difference? Well, they were 2.26x more expensive. So they were paying double the cost per lead with an agency versus when we set it up for them. But that's not the whole story. Now, there's reasons why they weren't, they didn't even have videos. Oh my gosh. That's like, I don't even know what to say that's like. But anyway, now, but that doesn't include the agency fee. Now, the agency fee, now let's say with this particular agency, they were requiring a budget of at least $100 a day. All right, so they're going to spend $100 a day. So that means that they spend approximately $3,000 for the month, 61 leads. So $61 a lead, that means that they would have generated 49 leads approximately with that agency. But that doesn't include the agency fee. So they had a $2,000 management fee. So if you take the $2,000 and you add it to the $3,000, you get $5,000. I know a little bit of math there. Stay with me. So now you have to take that new number because that's the total that they paid for the month. They paid the $3,000 for the ads and the $2,000 for the agency. 49 leads. That means that they were paying an average cost per lead of $102. Because now you have to, it's 61 cost per lead is what Facebook charged them. Again, without this 182 here. And then they were paying $102 cost per lead. Now, that means that they were 3.77 times more expensive. So in essence, now, if you were to take that same budget, and I hadn't done that calculation, of $5,000, and you put it across the 27, 5,000 divided by $27 a lead, that would be 185 leads. That would be 185 over 49 would be about almost four times the number of leads for the same amount of money. So that's the reason why, like in this scenario, this particular client would have to go through at least a couple months worth of leads versus in this same scenario, running in that same budget. Now, you don't have to run the same budget if you were doing this yourself. But again, this also is another item of flexibility. When you're dealing with an agency, in order to make it viable, you have to spend a lot of money with them. Otherwise, it's not going to be viable. You can't go in a real estate with an agency for Facebook or TikTok for that matter and say, I'm only have a budget of $600 or $1,000 or whatever. It's not going to be enough because you're going to be spending more money on agency fees than you are on the ads. Now, so what's the solution? The solution is what I consider to be a hybrid agency. And it's not really an agency. This is my suggestion to you because a lot of you might say, well, gee, Chico, I don't know how to run ads. It's so technical. I'm going to ask you this question. Do you know how to build the car that is in your driveway? The answer is no. You don't know that. You don't know how to build a car because it is like buying a car. When you buy a car, the dealer never asks you to build a car. They would never, and nobody would ever drive a car if they had to build it. What the dealer does is they build you the car. They deliver you the car with an owner's manual. And they say, look, if you get stuck, look at the owner's manual. If you have some problems, come back to us and we'll service it. And you go home, you put the key in the ignition, you can't figure out how to turn on the radio, you look at the manual, you're like, oh, okay, great, this is great. And you learn how to drive the car. It's the same principle here. And so what you need to do is this is what my recommendation is if you're going to do ads on social media, unless you're really techie. If you're really techie and you know all this stuff inside and out, then by all means, you can do it yourself. You don't need anybody. But most of you are not techie. So you find someone to build the campaigns and all the tech and put it all together, similar to what the dealer does. And then you run it. And then what happens is that they become your advisor, knowing that eventually you don't need them anymore. They become obsolete. And it's okay. They have to be okay with that. But again, that is what I recommend for anyone that is looking to do ads in the wholesaling space. Because also, too, you're in control, as they used to say in Southfield, you're now in control of your own domain. And that's what we want. Because now you could still do PPO if you wanted to. But chances are you got enough leads, you don't need to do PPO. But if you wanted to, you could. But you got your own thing going on, and that's the most important thing. So how do you find this? Well, you got a couple different options. You could go to Fiverr, find somebody on Fiverr. You can probably find somebody really cheap that can build all this stuff for you. I forgot the R in Fiverr. It has two R's. Please forgive me. You can go to your existing agency and say, you know what? This is what I want to do. I want you to build it for me, and I want to run it, which is fine, so long as the agency you have isn't going to run your ads like this one ran it, because then at that point, then they don't know what they're doing. The other option and final option is, of course, a little self-serving, is you can have us build it, because we do this for clients where we will actually build everything out and we'll show you how to run it. And in the end, you're on your own, like a bird, to be able to fly on your own and to go about the world and do deals and everything else. And you're not beholden to anyone. Wouldn't that be a wonderful thing? It would be. So anyway, that's why I think that if you are in the market for for doing motivated seller leads online, you can do an agency, you can do pay-per-lead, but I think you should be the master of your own domain. And if you're not techie, then this is the model that I think you should be going after. Let somebody build a car and you drive it with an owner's manual. If you are interested in having us do this for you, click the link in the description. And as always, why don't you check out one of my other videos? And that way it'll keep you entertained.